Welcome back, folks. Now, before the break, we saw a slaughterhouse on main stage on Quadrant as they punched another dub on a series in the cleanest way possible. Big start on map 1 with a big finish of 250-9 on Live Fire Strongholds. The team were frying on all cylinders heading into map 2 and giving Lucendi, honestly, no rest at all. They didn't have a second to breathe, applying pressure perfectly as a team, controlling spawns with a killing frenzy popping up for Chick. We saw a 17-5 KD for Chad. He sealed the Slayer on recharge, and the final map Streets Our Ball was more like dodgeball, as Lucendi couldn't get their hands on the objective, and Quadrant, they ran away with both rounds comfortably. There is a lot of eyes on this Quadrant team, and they have their sights set on that trophy. I'm excited to see where this story will end for Quadrant and how far they can seriously go, because I think there's a lot of pressure on these French shoulders. But I'm very excited to see how they actually perform under pressure when it gets to it. But I have a wonderful desk, obviously, and we do have a little bit of a switch up in terms of series. We're going to be seeing JLINGZ versus Frostbite, and I want to talk about JLINGZ right now because they have been on my mind, especially at the end of yesterday. I think that I was really impressed with what I saw. I think sometimes you come into tournaments and you're not quite sure what JLINGZ you're going to get. And yesterday, we got a pretty winning JLINGZ. So coming up in this match against Frostbite, what do you want to see out of this team, Gaskin?
I want to see the same JLINGZ we saw yesterday, a JLINGZ that has that desire, that passion to win. And I think that they know that they are the better team going into this series. So it's just a matter of this not being a banana skin, not maybe expecting too much and maybe preparing in a way where they are going to fail. Instead, just play the same game, enjoy yourselves a little bit, keep warmed up before you go into the winner's bracket a little bit later.
Rob, getting into the specifics of this JLINGZ roster here, I feel like whenever Morga is playing really well and popping off, I feel like JLINGZ do well. You know, we see Morga putting up some ridiculous stats yesterday, 28 and 16 on Streets King of the Hill versus the Wobbabobs, and they were just sailing, smooth sailing through. Do you feel the same way about the pressure on Morga's shoulders coming into this one?
I think he just needs to be consistent. I think as long as Morga plays his game, I think this team will play good. He's surrounded by such good talent as well. I mean, you look at how long we've been watching these players on European stages and how much success that they've found. I think yesterday that 50-47 Game 5 win was absolutely enormous because this is a team that just has a lot of smiles on their faces. They love to have fun. They've been doing this for a long time. This is not about main stage pressure, if you ask me. This is about them living up to their potential, having a good time doing it. Yesterday we saw that when you win a game 5 by 3 kills, it's just going to add to that momentum. And I was impressed with what I saw yesterday, just to kind of +1 what Dan said. They need to pick up where they left off.
And when we first saw this team form, and they had that honeymoon period where they pushed into the top 3, the top 2, and we were like, wow, okay, we've got a team that can really contend. And then they started to drop off a little bit during Pro Series and during these online tournaments, but this is a LAN environment again. These are players that have been here, done that, they've done it for years, and I think they are feeling so comfortable, so confident that this should be a breeze for them, and their sights is very much going to be set on the bigger task, the Navis, the Ascends. They really want to take down the big dogs.
Something I do want to pull up about JLINGZ just really quickly as well, Lethal, is the fact that I don't want them to put their foot off the gas right now. I think it's really easy for JLINGZ in terms of the roller coaster that they've had this season of ups and downs and being able to do it and then not being able to do it. You know, coming up against an opponent that they should win against. You know, if they do fall short here, it's going to be a really difficult road for them for the rest of the LAN because I feel like their confidence will be shot a little bit. Do you feel the same way?
I do feel the same way. I don't think they'll lose this series, but we're going to be here, especially on the desk, nitpicking to see exactly what mistakes we can find. If there's any major ones, then it will give us a rough indicator of what we can see later on in the future, I believe. But for what we've seen so far, they've been looking pretty damn strong at the moment, and especially with Quadios as well. I wasn't really too sure about him a few months ago. He was still very good back then, don't get me wrong, but he's actually the top of his game in terms of peak performance. Custode's been looking much better, especially with the damage dealt and his map presence, so he's also been looking very good indeed. But you had to talk about Morga 12, of course, looking suited and booed, looking very good as always, but it's also been one of the best coaches for a long time as well, so that additional advantage there is going to help him out massively in the series.
I renamed him Morga the Second. I wasn't happy with Morga 12 anymore. I was like, is there 12 of you? He was like, no. I was like, okay, so you're Morga the Second or Morga 2. Get rid of the 12, and he seemed to be happy. He renamed Morga the Second.
I feel like Morga the Second also fits his brand with
really
the power
does.
suits that he brings also to the main stage too. I've got to say, I love it. Our best dressed coach, I believe, would be the award he would be given. On the other side of things, though, on the main stage, we do have Frostbite, and they are ready to go. They're looking to take down JLINGZ Esports to make the ride a little easier for them heading through the rest of day 2 here. I want to talk about this, Lethal, as well, and why I have you. You know these guys, you know exactly what they can do. Marby's obviously had really good FFA results, a great Slayer. Talk to me about this team dynamic. What are they bringing to the stage?
It's going to be a bit of a struggle for him. I don't think we're going to see the usual plays we come from them since they're playing against a potential top 6, top 4, maybe even a top 4 team, because we've had that in conversation in the past. So it will be quite slow and dynamic. They will have to focus more on their team shot because they've got no players who can make that game changer. But if there was someone who's a game changer or maybe be that main slayer, then it will be, of course, Marvies and Crossman. Marvies had some great FFA placements, as we already mentioned, especially over the last couple of months. And it's good to see like FFAs come back and also see a lot of these players come through, because that's what it's like back in the old days. That's what we're going to see now, and it shows true potential of what a Slayer can do. But so far, and also you can't forget Zayak as well, or sorry, Zayok, with the fact that he's been around for a very, very long time, always bring a mixture of these different Finnish rosters here, especially back from the H3 days up to now, and it's lovely to see him back as well.
It is indeed. Bravo. I've also been told that, you know, this team, Frostbite, they have a slow playstyle. However, they rely on their angles more than they do their numbers. And that's a little bit difficult when it comes to Halo Infinite. And Harry actually told me that that's really kind of the accord of some bad habits coming in from other titles and kind of not kind of progressing in Halo Infinite as much. How difficult will that playstyle be coming up against JLINGZ here?
It will be atrocious, to be honest. It will be so hard to play against a team like JLINGZ if you try to play slow, if you try to force angles. We're going to hope for their sake that we don't look too much into the team name of Frostbite, because if they are moving slow, they're going to find themselves on that exact kind of receiving end of some very, very deep pain. I think they're going to need to play fast, and they're going to need to answer JLINGZ's aggression. And
you know what they say, Lottie, bad habits lead to late nights, so you've got to be a little bit careful, otherwise you will be going back, you will be checking those VODs, you'll be trying to work out what you can do to change things going into Sunday. For Frostbite, they had an amazing day yesterday, right? They won all of their open bracket games. They looked uncontested when it came to open bracket, but it's a different deal now you get into pool play here. They did lose their game against the third place team, so it's a tough order to then go and beat the team that is likely to finish first in this group, but that doesn't mean they're not going to give it their all up here. This is a fantastic chance for them to show not just what they're made of as a team, but individually to have their chance on main stage.
Definitely, and something I just learned as well is I'm pretty sure Ed Sheeran's going to be on Dan's Spotify Wrapped list later on this year as well, because I did hear that little quote come through there, Gaskin. But I want to talk about the pools and see the results as well, because of course we do have some scores on the board here, and we can see it's not really going that well for our open bracket teams coming into the pools. We do have Connecting that are waiting to play Na'Vi very shortly, and that was one we were kind of looking at in terms of the way that Connecting have been built, the experience on that roster as well, Gaskin, because I know that Baxter's on that roster. There's a couple of household names in Europe. They're on that roster. We were going to be watching that series. Unfortunately, we can't actually watch that one at this time. But are you looking for them to potentially give Na'Vi a good shot here?
I don't think they will take down Na'Vi, but I do think the Connecting roster can certainly do some damage in the top 12 area, and maybe if they have an amazing tournament, they turn into top 8. I think these guys, Deadeye Fred, Gov, Desire, they've been looking for a fourth that can kind of fit their playstyle a little bit, maybe some experience, and suddenly Baxter, a 12-time European champion, or 13, however many times he's been telling everyone as he walks around this LAN center throughout this weekend. You know, he has that experience. Baxter was one of the greatest Halo players that Europe had to offer back in the day, so I think that his experience and his ability will certainly shine when we look at that roster.
Indeed, I'm excited to see the results of all of our open bracket teams going through the round robin for them as well in their pools. But let's talk about a head-to-head that's happening on the main stage as well. And Lethal, I'm heading over to you. So we got Quad and Marvies on the screen for good reason. Quad obviously really heating up with JLINGZ and somebody to watch here. But what does Marvies bring to the table in a direct comparison to Quad?
He really can be a huge slaying powerhouse by any means. As I say, the reason why I spoke about Quad as well is because we talked about Septic quite a lot back in the EU Super, but he was doing some serious damage. But Quad has obviously put the practice in, the time and the effort, and look at him now. He's becoming another powerhouse in himself. But Marvies, the reason why I've talked about him a little bit is because I've played against him quite a few times. He can be quite awkward to play against, but very good to play with from what we've seen so far in the previous, especially in the open bracket. But it's like I said before, when you see someone with very high consistent FFA plays, even if it's at least at the semi-finals, that shows a true intentions of being a great main slayer, and I'm sure he'll be able to, even though he will struggle a little bit here because it's a completely different dynamic across the board. This is JLINGZ. They're going to force you to play their style, and this is where it's going to cause a few issues. So if he wants to try and become that factor, really try and make an impact, then he's got to do some huge stuff here.
Keep an eye on Quad's face cam as well throughout this game, because every single time he dies, gets a kill, does something special, does something miserable, his face paints a picture, his body language paints a picture, and I think he's very aware he's being watched. He's very aware he's on player cam, but he just can't help himself. Every single time that we see him die, he's like throwing his eyes up in the air. He's like, his body language is dejected or he's happy, and it makes for entertainment, so just keep an eye on it.
He's a very emotional player, and we see that coming across the screen. Well, I'll tell you what, it's about time we get into the series on the main stage. We've made you guys wait long enough. We're going to head on over to our two wonderful casters right now in the booth. We got Clutch and Shurzy on the mics.
Thanks so much, Lottie. Wes, super excited to jump into this and super excited to get another look at JLINGZ.
Yeah, JLINGZ looked good yesterday. The big questions are, can they keep it going? Because inconsistencies has been the name of the game for this team from the start of the qualifiers. So what a better time to find a consistent, methodical play than at the Super, right? I think that this is a big opportunity for JLINGZ to either break into a potential top 3, or are they going to fall back into that top 6, top 8 potential that Dan was kind of worried about at the start of the tournament?
Looking at the series layout, then Stronghold's Live Fire is going to be our game 1. Slayer Recharge game 2. Oddball Streets will be our 3rd game, and if they will be required, CTF Catalyst and Slayer Aquarius respectively. What do you expect to see here? JLINGZ Esports obviously coming out hot. This is a different story. If they've lost Online Warriors, we maybe think Frostbite could give them a very good go, but we're seeing JLINGZ and they're playing very well.
Yeah, it's all about, can JLINGZ get the job done against one of these teams that's coming out of the AM bracket, the open bracket, and hopefully JLINGZ, if they look as strong as they did yesterday, this will be a very quick series, and that'll give us a lot of promise for their potential in bracket play, right? So I'm looking for JLINGZ to consistently win these gunfights that they were able to yesterday, to consistently hit these incredible shots, and more so, when they get control, can they keep setups? Can they break setups quickly? Things like that show me that they're strategically up to par with the likes of potentially Ascend, Na'Vi, the rest of the crew.
On the other side of things, Frostbite looking to make that upset, looking to make a name for themselves. Being a team for quite some time now, that core group of players know what it takes to take on some of these big dogs. They've come up short consistently, but maybe this is the time when they're on the main stage, when the lights shine brightest, so they can maybe shake some of these top players, but they have a lot to do here in Game 1.
Game 1's a good place to start, though. If you're Frostbite, you want to catch them sleeping, catch them off guard a bit. You can take Game 1. Game 2's a Slayer in the best of 5s, so maybe there's a chance.
JLINGZ Esports up against Frostbite. Can they catch JLINGZ cold? That's going to be the question on everybody's lips. Morga is the first man up here through his eyes and ears. And we do have a player after dropping out. Unfortunately, it's going to be Quad who has taken over the role as IGL. So we'll have to talk about a little bit more about what we expect to see. We can't talk about starting strategies because we didn't see much.
Unfortunately for Frostbite, they let that one keep going. I think I like their chances in the 4v3, but we're going to end this one, get the replay. And it's a good thing it happens at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Needless to say, nothing too determined. Maybe no starting strats really revealed, because you want those starting strats to give you maybe an opportunity. I know we didn't see Frostbite on stream as of yet, but we had an opportunity to see JLINGZ. So maybe Frostbite goes to the VOD knowing that they're in their pool. They check out what they're doing at the start of Live Fire. They just try to counter it, and hopefully they still have a potential advantage in that regards to make this Game 1 a little bit more exciting, especially at the start. Getting Overshield would be nice, right?
Zayok on your screens looking a little bit like the Finnish Boo-Boo Doo-Boo. Yeah, it's a Fubu Doo-Boo we got him. Perhaps Boo-Boo Doo-Boo can send some energy over. But let's talk about Frostbite. They've done a tremendous run through the Open, went unbeaten. So they've come into this on fire here, and if they can gather some of that momentum and carry it through, perhaps they can be a difficult task for JLINGZ.
If there is a Cinderella story in the open bracket that's coming into pools, it's got to be this Frostbite roster, you'd have to think. And even if it doesn't happen against JLINGZ, a good showing here, when you go into elimination bracket, that gives you a little bit of momentum, because they know that they're heavily the underdogs coming into this series. It's more so, can we take things from this series, apply it to the rest of the tournament, and being forced straight into an elimination bracket run with a loss in this series, you have no room for mistakes, so you want to learn as quickly as possible this weekend.
Let's talk about it. If you're in a situation where you've ran through the open side and you're now a heavy underdog in this series, do you still try and play your own game, employ the same strategies, or is it when you start adjusting things and maybe trying to play a little bit more defensive is when you actually hand the initiative over to a team like JLINGZ?
Yeah, I think starting strats, you kind of switch up. You try to counter the other team, but you can't start changing your philosophy now, right? You define who you are as a player up until this point, and you're continuing to grow, but you never want to force yourself to play a play style that may be uncomfortable, especially when it comes to different sensitivities as individual players, right? If a player wants to play more aggressive, but he's playing on something slow like 3 cents, it's going to have a real hard time following players in close combat, right? So you want to always stay true to who you are as an individual, and you just want to hope that you're on your A game when given the moment and the opportunity to strike.
And it's one of those situations on the other side of things for JLINGZ where they're expected to win this game. So there's winning a series, but there's dominating a series, and that we're looking for the second option here for JLINGZ. Yeah,
I think JLINGZ wants to send a message that, hey, Friday was great for us, but we can consistently play at that level, and that's what we're all looking for here, right? JLINGZ didn't do as well in the regional as we would want, right? And this is their opportunity to kind of make up that ground. How much practice have they put in? Is it going to pay off? Because pool play, your performance has been great, but as we approach bracket play, as we get closer and closer to when you're going up against the top dogs in EU, how close are you? Where do you actually stand?
And speaking to Morga as well, we got to speak briefly with him yesterday. He spoke about how much they learned in Kansas City, and the one thing he took away from it was the North American teams control the sandbox. They use that heat wave a lot better than the players in Europe, and they have learned now they need to stay alive with these weapons.
There's a lot of ammo in them, and they respawn quickly, so if you're not focused on those things, you're going to have worse guns, and worse guns means your chances of winning those 1v1s are going to be so little. The DPS just gets so heavily increased when you get the Bulldog, when you get the Snipe, the Rockets, everything, right? You want to give yourself those advantages. If you're Frostbite, you need those advantages to stay in this series, to push this one past 3 games. If you're JLINGZ, just staying in the moment, staying in the routine of acquiring those sandboxes, putting them to use, and when they're on respawn, focusing on, hey, I need to go get this when I come off spawn. Having that in the back of your head, consistently practicing like you would if you were playing against someone like Na'Vi, someone like Ascend, it bodes well for when you actually get the chance.
And for Frostbite, and indeed Coach Tommy the Krogan standing behind them, it's about making JLINGZ feel uncomfortable. Have some map presence, do not cower in a corner, push the envelope here.
Yeah, I think if JLINGZ feels uncomfortable, it's probably due to that wig you had on earlier, but we'll see how they start this one off.
And we're underway then. It's going to be through Marvies. Drop shield goes down. A little bit premature though, nobody out there looking to fight. They're instead turning their attention towards B. JLINGZ, just like before the reset, went straight to B. They're more interested in scoring points. We'll fight for the overshield later.
Yeah, interesting, they do lose the battle for Snipe as Marvies won his 1v1 up top. Unfortunately, it's Morga once again, starting off right where he left off yesterday. Probably the best player on JLINGZ, giving you a little bit of a sample as of why just there.
Small slice, double kill. Overshield now. Not only did they get B, but they got the overshield. But unfortunately, during the meantime, Frostbite spawned back up and recaptured that B. None the matter though, AC in control now. Cristola faced with the entire team of Frostbite, and the overshield's go, but it's not that good.
Good job by Frostbite to kind of eliminate that overshield from the equation, but a lot of work still to do. They end up trading out some good damage, so even with the overshield advantage, JLINGZ not really able to take that B stronghold. They are still continuing to score with ANC though.
Here is Marvies with that heat wave. Can be so influential. It packs a mighty punch. Looks a little bit hesitant to make a move here, and that could be opening the door for JLINGZ to make the decisions they need to adjust on the fly here. They've targeted A. Marvies looking to go C. Has to contend with Morgan. It's a 2v1 situation, so the Dutchman has his work cut out from here. He's doing as much damage as he possibly can. Somehow comes out on top, gets the reset. Where's his teammate? Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, where is his teammate? It's a good question. It's what I'm scratching my head thinking. You got to figure out a way to turn that into a 2v1, transfer over C. In the meantime, Slays have gone in JLINGZ's favor across the map as well. They've been able to take B, so the hold is true. And that's just a big blunder by Frostbite to not just have situational awareness to be with your teammate or have an opportunity to even help him.
3 dead for JLINGZ though. Quadios last man alive standing on A plat. Opts to back away, but straight into the battle rifle of Systematic. Lovely baiting and switch here. The fight comes out. Somehow Quadios lives. Not for long though.
There it goes.
His
scratch of the nose.
Scratch of the nose. There's always something when he gets eliminated. Body language is a big, big teller sometimes, and that's not always the best thing to be sitting beside.
Yeah, I was saying that last night. When he throws his head back, like, that's not what I want to see in my peripherals if I'm your teammate, especially every time you die, right? Because that's happening a lot. APG used to twitch a little bit, like, with his legs, and I was like, Richie, we got to switch spots. It's not working out. But if it doesn't bother the players, and, I mean, Quadios doesn't have a problem walking in. He's had a very solid performance so far in pool play, so we'll see if it starts to distract or interact with his ability to lock in against maybe some better teams later on.
In the meantime there, Frostbite were really pushing the pace, went for the triple cap, but higher risk, high reward, and unfortunately they did lose out, so they've lost A and B in the process, while Septic was able to clear house. That plasma pistol wasn't fully charged. You can see the body language from Quadio straight away, rolling the eyes. It's important. Keep note of it, especially when they start to play against some of those top teams.
Shaking the head, too. Knows that maybe he should have got that one. Septic, though, making up for it. Both power weapons in hand, so you want to focus on controlling the weapons. Septic doing a good job here.
74-46 then. Making a game of it.
The butt
Marvs
shot.
and Systematic. Shot in the cheek. That'll be enough to send him away. Send him packing. Sniper rifle just whiffs on the top of Crossman, but his teammates on hand to ensure that's not too detrimental to his health. Marvs gets taken down here, and 4 dead for Frostbite, and now this is where we start to worry.
We'll see. They need to be able to get out of this trip cap because it is going to be a trip cap situation. They're immediately coming off spawn. The focus is on the A. What can Septic say about it? Nothing. Good job by Frostbite to get out of that situation, stop the bleeding. It's a 30-point game, so you're still in this one. So a good job by Frostbite so far.
Frostbite trying to keep the game sub-zero. JLINGZ starting to thaw out though, heating up
See what you did
as
there.
intention. See what I did there? I'm clever. Cristola though, overshield to play with now. Delaying the pop, waiting for the opportune moment. Sometimes it can be risky, but he has the information that he needs. His team are all around him on A, and C is going to be the port of call.
This is where it gets ugly, Shurzy. They're trying to get C, but guess what? Cristola with this overshield could shut it down. The sticks, somehow both. To the left, it's curveballs from Crossman, but that overshield dealt with pretty well. So good job by Frostbite once again to somehow deal with these overshield players continuously. But eventually, like I said at the start, Shurs, if you're Frostbite and you want to create this upset, in reality, you got to secure some of the power on the map in order to make up the difference.
There's a couple of overshields they've shut down. They've both been in the chest of Cristola, and they've managed to negate the issues accordingly. But right now, 137 to 59. They're in the fight, but can they become a little bit more than that? Can they be a threat? A and C in control now. Cristola eliminated.
Good
2
damage.
go down though. Frostbite. This will open the door for JLINGZ now. Start to dictate the pace.
Got to figure out a way to get B in your favor. A good job by Systematic to sniff that flank out as well. And I like the aggressiveness top middle here, but you need to go with your teammate. Absolutely. Good decisions.
Complacency can be the biggest enemy for JLINGZ here. Perhaps not expecting to be in a dogfight. Frostbite have come out of the open hungry. Looking to sink their teeth here into JLINGZ. Morgan comes back for more. Zayok makes sure he punishes him for that decision.
I mean, let's take a step back here. 40-point game. You've given up what feels like every single overshield. Frostbite not in the worst position. You just got to maybe prioritize the power on the map a little bit more, and we're talking about a potential series on our hands.
B has been converted. Zayok's done enough damage over towards C. Unfortunately, unable to capture it. Overshield again. Quadios turned his attentions to it. Systematic with the heat wave. It's a 2v1. Quadios jumps up. That one's kind of criminal.
Yeah, it's just too slow to the power up, right? You need to be set up before it's coming up, not after it's been up, right? When the clock's hitting 3, 2, 1, it's almost too late. You want to be there about 10 seconds before, and Frostbite's just too slow to set up for overshield, and once again, goes in the hands of JLINGZ.
A little bit slow, a little bit lethargic, but doing a fantastic job thus far just to stay in the fight. But now JLINGZ starting to take control once more. B and C in their power. Crossman has even the odds just a touch, taken down 2, tries to land that shot, eventually connects with the body, and then the head of Quadios. Double kill here. Crossman looking to drag his team forward.
Can't stay alive, though, and that's not a death you want, but good damage overall from Crossman. Mistakes like that, just being able to stay alive is such a big difference for me, Shurs. It's the difference in the score right now. Although it's an 80-point lead, it's like these two teams are battling.
Both teams jostling for position. Crossman gets 3 kills, but JLINGZ still maintain control of the map, and that is criminal.
Hit the body.
Important. Septic, sniper rifle in his hands. He can be lethal with it. Getting touch tight with his teammate Cristola to offer support and capturing B. They've done so successfully. Triple cap now, and this is where the points start to hemorrhage away. Marvs backs down with the help of a grenade to try and aid and assist his exit. The repulsor play will come through. Marvs again battling 2 players here. They've captured A, but they're still losing points.
Trying to push onto B, trying to get this pressure out of Big Door, but those grenades that would have killed him. Just beautiful use of the repulsor, but look at this overshield. 10 seconds But 225 to 99, I mean, this overshield would have to give you one hell of a power curve, because right now it's going to almost be too little too late to be acquiring your first power-up of the game for Frostbite.
236 then. Has to be a massive overshield. Marvs possibly has their game life in his hands here. They have to make decisions. They've got C. They're going for A as well. Very shortly about to be converted. No, it's been stopped at the 11th hour, but they are capturing B, but at the same time losing C. Just not on the same page.
Yeah, resources are just having to be split too far, right? It's because now you're down so much, 241, you have no room for mistakes. You got to have everybody everywhere. And it's just so easy for JLINGZ, right? They're able to pick them apart, able to dissect wherever the resources are sent. They're going to go to the opposite place, and even with Quadios using the repulsor, it's going to make it even harder.
Everybody everywhere sounds similar to a Backstreet Boys song.
Yeah.
Lock your body. And that's exactly what Quadios has done just there to lock in a double kill and a killing spree. Game 1 goes the way of JLINGZ.
And it was good, but it wasn't as dominant as I thought it would be. Frostbite was getting some good damage, dealing with some pretty tough, difficult situations pretty well. The overshields, yeah, I think JLINGZ was putting them to use, but when you're able to like trade 3 for 3 and they had a full overshield player involved in the fight, that's a good job by Frostbite. Those situations go much different if Frostbite can get some of these overshields, but I mean, that is also props to JLINGZ for setting up for those overshields, being there on time every time, and that shows you that the conversation you're having with the players before, they are starting to prioritize the sandbox. They are starting to understand, hey, these advantages, they're pretty nice.
250 to 102, the final score then. Quadios going 17 and 11 with 10 assists. A very impressive performance from him. But let's talk about it, let's dissect it. Early stages in that game, even towards the mid-game, it was very, very close. Was it a thing of complacency, or do you think there's something a little bit more sinister there that JLINGZ need to look at?
Yeah, I don't think we learned too much about JLINGZ so far, right? That was just the first game. You want to see a dominant performance. That wasn't dominant, in my opinion, as far as like individual skill being displayed. It was good. It was everything you need, and maybe they are looking forward to bracket play and maybe overlooking this team just a little bit, but at the same time, Frostbite is no pushover. And the more we learn about this Frostbite team, I'm saying, hey, they're doing some good things. Maybe not great things. There's some mistakes being made, maybe some setups or some power-ups, and they can compete with some of Europe's top-tier teams.
The fundamentals are definitely there for Frostbite. Just making a few critical errors. That 1 and C really stood out to me. That 1v2 that Morgan was able to not only get a kill in the reset, but kill the second player too and make sure that he held C. You can't let that happen against these good players.
Yeah, not only do you like capture a stronghold twice as fast when there's 2 players in it on one team, the objective of the game actually, but you go hunting for the guy back tower, you think he's gonna maybe loop around towards the mud, but no, he doubles back, he gets himself in a 1v1, and a 1v1 that should have been won by the Heatwave player, but should never have been a 1v1 in the first place. And because of that, it's just little things like that, miscommunications, mispositionings for even a brief moment that good players are able to take advantage of, and that's what JLINGZ was able to do there.
Confirmation of how the first game went. 250 to 102 if you're just joining us. Slayer Recharge is game 2. We always speak about how there's opportunities for some of these weaker teams to take the Slayers. And I've seen some signs of life from Frostbite that this could also be a bit of a slippy banana.
Yeah, the good news is like, Overshield is so much easier to put to use than Camo. So a big storyline in the power-ups is how is Camo used when it's successfully grabbed. A lot of the time it's actually burned on Recharge. So if Frostbite, if they don't want to prioritize power-ups, maybe they can get it burned. Maybe they can deal with the Camo player a little bit easier and have some success in some of these DPS trades and some of these kill trades and get things to go in their favor. And that would bode well for their opportunities here in Game 2.
Frostbite have it all to do then to bounce back in the series, or they will find themselves down 2-0. JLINGZ haven't yet found their final form, still trying to get through the gears, and perhaps the clutch is a little bit off at the moment. Morgan scampers down bottom middle, strolls up, walks out, has secured the camouflage now, not too hard or difficult a task, picks up 2 kills, gets taken down eventually, but that was a slow start, but somehow, some way Frostbite may perhaps have gotten the camouflage there.
Yeah, they're able to trade out once again with the power-up situation. Good shots by Crossman before he gets taken down from the Neebler. And that's a great start for Frostbite, right? 4-4 doesn't seem like a great start, but the fact that you're able to remove some of the power off the map, maybe turn it into a BR's only fight, and hopefully get a shock rifle in your hand as they get in the pipe spawn. So everything going much better here in game 2.
Kristola, victim of timing there, as he threw that nade down to try and deny that space, but unfortunately Marvs comes out soaring and doesn't take any splash damage from that initial grenade. We're seeing Quadios get tanked up by that plasma pistol, taken down to no shields, and teammate on hand. Communication seems to be good here for Frostbite.
Good teamwork too, right? Doesn't overextend, good decision to let the teammate go for that kill, capitalize on the damage, get your shield back, so love what we saw there.
8 kills to 7 then. Close run things so far. Not being blown out of the water. Early doors. Opening exchanges have been split pretty evenly here. Kristola chases down that kill, but it's going to be a trade. Ultimate leads. Not much gain from that decision. 8 kills to 10.
Yeah, Systematic's fine with that. You want to push me like that out in the open? You want to trade a kill for a kill when you have the advantage in damage? Absolutely.
Morgan, though, what can he do? Gets back down, but straight into Systematic.
There we go.
Hands over the power weapon as well, sword. And Camouflage is about to pop up in 15 seconds. And they're going to take Wes Clutch's advice, get there early. Because if you show up late, you might not leave home with the goods.
What does he choose to do with this sword's the question for me. Everybody from JLINGZ across the map, you're not going to be able to put it to use. We haven't seen the shock rifle in play yet. It may be on spawn.
6 kill advantage for Frostbite. 2 kills go their way in the shape and form of Crossman. Putting down expert damage there. What can Marvies do that? Kristola in a 1v2 here, desperately trying to get a trade. Somehow has managed to do that. Marvies decides he'll live to fight another day. Will not trade that one out.
I believe they were able to get camo as well. First power up of the game going towards Frostbite, and look at this. 7 kill lead, what do you know?
Camouflage player. I would like to see Systematic almost pass that sword over to get double damage, double down on it, but he's opted instead to choose the shock rifle. He has
exposed top middle, and because of that, Frostbite, they just lost a lot of the power they once acquired.
It's a heads-up play, really. JLINGZ knew they dropped the sword over towards pipes, and they hadn't seen him on the map the entire time, so if we're going to push there, we need the repulsor. It's a heads-up play. 17 kills then, make it 18 to 22. JLINGZ starting to find some footing now. Morgan will get a sword kill in the distance. Crossman desperately trying to stay alive and might have just avoided the damage from that grenade. But now we're seeing this starting to slow down, turtle up. Frostbite realizing they're in a situation where they could throw this one away, but sword comes straight through once more, pierces to the spine of Crossman. 2 go down, and all of a sudden we could see the initiative handed straight back over to JLINGZ.
2v2 and the camo's up, or coming up pretty shortly. You want this side of the map. If you're Frostbite, it's so much easier to defend camo when you're playing from the elevator, from control, C-plat. Can they hold control though? Because you're seeing JLINGZ start to rotate.
Trying to adjust themselves for the angles. They've picked off 1, but unfortunately they've lost 2 in the process. 2v2 on the map, but the initial damage has been done. The camouflage has been moved to an opportune moment for Morgan to pick up. He secures it, pops it into his chest immediately, and the sword is up on respawn as well if he so chooses to pick it up. But he has walked into 2. Camouflage have spotted him. He's back down and might have sold his teammate out to dry here. Quadios goes down, but sword still in the chest. Still at play here for Morgan. 28 kills, 27. What was a huge advantage at 1.8 kills is now down to it all tied up.
Yeah, and this camo, what does he choose to do with it? It's an easy kill. Unfortunately, the timing not in his favor. That backsmack's big to at least just trade it out with the power up, and a much more competitive game 2 than game 1, and it's because Frostbite have done so much better of a job about playing around the camos, playing around the swords, the shocks, everything at their disposal.
Frostbite desperately trying to claw back some of that momentum they had in the early game. Quadio soars in, not giving the Frostbite players the respect they deserve, and ultimately the right
bit of map control, a little bit of space. Quadios overextends just 1 time with the grapple, and it's given Frostbite the opportunity to get a few kills in their favor after getting that first. And because of it, they now have the lead.
Numbers advantage is so huge. Kristola gets eliminated. Like shock rifle and a grenade coupled together equals massive damage. Who would have known? Quadios almost gets fried, but that shot will whiff for the moment. Systematic in pipes, going towards the elevator. 2 members of JLINGZ will be with him in a moment if he's not too careful. Zayok down bottom middle, waiting for the camouflage once more. They've done a much better job of making this camouflage more competitive, but unfortunately Morgan's down there again. His success of back-to-back camouflages, will this start to be more influential?
It's a clean wipe on the side of Frostbite. JLINGZ, this camo, that battle may have just decided game 2 because they have the 1-kill lead, they have the camo, they have the sword. And what can they do with it now?
They've made the decision, made the camouflage player even more influential. Sword passed over to him. 4 kills now the advantage, and the kills are going the wrong way for Frostbite when they had so much early control.
See it so often. The open bracket teams, the players still trying to learn how to deal with the ebbs and the flows, especially in late game. When the game's close, Frostbite, that camo battle was so important. Can they figure out a way to minimize the damage? It's a big kill on Amorga.
4-kill game. Septic using that grapple once more to try and get close. Tried to scamper away. Zayok makes sure that is not a possibility this time. Shuts him down, but he's isolated all alone, and that will be an easy pickup kill. 5-kill game now. Frostbite can ill afford to throw away any more deaths.
A little bit of space to play around those. They're not over yet. Let's see if JLINGZ play a little bit too aggressive. Can you get a pick? Crossman finds the first.
Plasma pistol being fully charged. Quadrios is fully aware there's a player around them. Marv's unable to escape his attentions, his grasp. 3 kills required, 8 for Frostbite. They once had an 8-kill advantage. It was cut away, and JLINGZ starting to find their flow. Plasma pistol versus plasma pistol, both shots whiff and a swing and a miss. Crossman looks to capitalize on the damage his teammate put down, but Morgan's looking to take alternative angles. He's met with a fist to the face. That'll be enough to eliminate him. It's a 1 kill required now for JLINGZ. Repulsor play being used. It will not come right now. It does come eventually though. And Septic locks in that final kill for JLINGZ. They're up 2-0 in the series, and now they're starting to cruise.
Not a dominant win though, right? If you want to be critical, if you want to be analytical, we've seen how strong Na'Vi looked earlier today. Got a glimpse at Quadrant as well, right? And they both made slight work of the open teams that they played. I know Frostbite's probably the favorite out of the open side, but you still want to see JLINGZ continue that momentum. I'm not quite sure we're seeing the dominant level that I almost expected to see in this series. You get the job done though, 50-44 like you said. But some mistakes are made, some overextensions. The grapples, maybe a little bit too aggressive.
We can see the stats in front of us. Quadios has had a very successful game despite using that grapple and giving away a few easy deaths at times, 15, 9, and 10. Putting up the stat line that he needs to win the Slayer and open the door. They left a few scraps on the table for Frostbite to capitalize, and they made that a very difficult game for them.
Yeah, it all came down to that one camo fight where they got clean wiped, right? They went 0 for 4, it tied the game up. Not only that, but camo didn't even get burned. Goes in the hands of JLINGZ, and from there on out, they were able to basically control the pace and the map control of the game in the later half.
And after that camouflage, what we've seen was Frostbite starting to freeze up, not wanting to move, not wanting to step out. They tried to slow the game down. It didn't work. They realized they had to stick to the original game plan. But unfortunately, they handed the keys to JLINGZ. They took control of the game and never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, once it really was that camo control, they got the sword, a couple of shock rifle kills. These plasma pistols so influential throughout the game as well. You love to see the other items of the sandbox being used. I know we've seen Morga using the Needler a couple times so far this weekend, so they really are trying to expand all of the sandbox that's given to them, all of the opportunity to gain these situational advantages. And because of it, JLINGZ are continuing this run.
250 to 102, Strongholds live fire. 50-44, Slayer recharge. And now we turn our attentions to Streets, Oddball. And Streets has been a map that's been very good for JLINGZ in the past. And with how they're playing, this could be almost a godsend for them to get more comfortable, get more reps. And maybe this is where they close out the series. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Oddball's a tough game type typically for open teams. Used to not even be a game type for open teams. So how much practice does Frostbite have at this specific map mode combo? How comfortable are they at holding setups, breaking setups? Potentially a lot less practice in this than I would say something like a Recharge Slayer. So this one could be heavily lopsided, especially when you start to feel the pressure of being down 0-2 in a series.
We did see Frostbite improve in that second game. They played pretty decently in the game one, particularly in the early engagements. They took the lead in game two and just were unable to hold it. What can they do to really make this a more difficult task?
Yeah, I'm not saying that Coach Clutch was standing behind them. This series could be a lot different, just with a little bit of fixes, right? A little bit of instructions, a little bit more coordination. Frostbite's right there. You can see the individual skill is not where they're lacking. It's not that department. It's the strategy. That's what I'm worried about. We'll see if they turn it around here and now.
Decision making is a massive key decider in some of the best teams. What makes a good player the best players? Septic, he's been one of them for a long time in Europe. One of the top dogs, secures the Rockets for free.
Yeah.
And Frostbite are down to just one. The numbers, that can't happen against the caliber of player that we're watching with JLINGZ here. An early lead then, 19 points, nothing too detrimental, nothing you can't claw your way back into, but they have gotten the ball now back into Tram. That can be a very difficult one to break.
See how long it takes Frostbite to do that. They have the skill. How good are JLINGZ at holding this setup? A lot of questions going to be asked. JLINGZ can hold this setup for a pretty good amount of time. It just gives you a lot of reassurance that they are a top team, that they do know what they're doing strategically, especially across the modes and the map combinations.
Initial push then looks to be unsuccessful. They've cut down the numbers once again. They have numbers advantage to JLINGZ. Ball has been dropped to ensure they have an extra gun in the fight, giving Frostbite the respect they deserve and they command. But it's been unsuccessful to push first time around, and that has meant that 47 seconds now to 0 has been amounted. Frostbite need to get a boogie on.
2 players without a kill. Just focus on getting a kill, creating some space, allowing yourself to feel a little bit more comfortable, because right now, Quadios, once again, Sentinel beam in hand, just frying all of Frostbite.
He's taken down 3, turns his attention towards the final member, but waiting on the Rockets. They popped just a little bit too late for him, unable to secure them for his team. That has meant the 2 teammates that did have 0 kills are now on the board. And can they start to string something together? 2 down, make it 3. This is the opportunity, this is the moment, seize it, capture it. Eminem said that one time.
One time, and we'll leave it to Eminem to keep it that way. Rockets do go in the hands of Frostbite. Unfortunately, just nobody home on the first, and the first real setup Frostbite had, so I wondered how long it was going to take him to break the setup. It was 61 unanswered points. They're going to have to do something very similar to JLINGZ if they want to compete in this series.
Marv's sitting on the bench, not interesting in feeding the ducks. And matter of fact, he's a boombox over his shoulder, and it's not playing the sort of tune you want to listen to. That much is for damn sure. He now tries to patrol purple. We've seen this situation time and time again. Sometimes players overstay their welcome. He's opting to back away now, not exposing himself for too long. But having said that, Cristola with a well-placed grenade opens the door, kicks it in, picks up 2 kills.
First setup for JLINGZ, 61. First setup for Frostbite, just 21. Big difference there. And just like that, because Quadios is able to get that double, this round's going to be almost over. Frostbite are going to have to come off spawn and act quickly.
Only requiring 19 seconds now, JLINGZ. Ball has been played out front base, so it's not an immediate threat so far, but Frostbite soar in. They've lost too many members in that engagement. 3, 4 dead momentarily. Systematic coming fresh off the spawn, and Quadios tapping his watch, waiting for him. The spawn open PD, using that Sentinel beam expertly here to fry and melt the shields away. It hurts, it's disorientating, it's almost the most infuriating weapon to get shot by, and he locks in another 2 kills for himself, and that should mean round 1 goes to JLINGZ.
Cooking. Quadios keeps it up from yesterday. He has some phenomenal stats yesterday, doing everything he can in this one, and why not? That Sentinel beam is so lethal when used in the right positions, and that's exactly how Quadios was using it.
Stock rifle for Septic. Rockets still down. Both teams baiting them. Quadios and Cristola, the 2 Qs, have opened the door here again. Great opening damage, great picks. Rockets have been picked up now. But which way have they gone? It's in the Irishman's hands. He opts to throw the ball back towards his team. Force Frostbite to make a decision. Splash damage will be enough for his teammate to secure the kill. But the collapse is coming from Zayok. Is he going to be able to escape with his life? The answer is no. It's going to be a trade. And all of a sudden, what you had all the ingredients you needed, but Frostbite have made you pay somehow, some way, but this is the opportunity to get their hands on the ball, start scoring some points.
Yeah, if we're going to entertain anything in this series, it's going to have to be right now. Can you get off to a big lead? Building a massive lead in oddball early on, we saw it in the first round on the side of JLINGZ, just gives you so much time to work with, so much pressure on the other team. As the clock continues to go down, the ball is neutralized. How long can Frostbite keep this setup? And as I say that, 3 go down, doesn't look like it's going to be very long.
Not punishing JLINGZ enough when they have control of the map. Easily passed over once more. Their first hold mounted to 21, this one 14. They're going backwards. We need to see more from them, and not only that, the ball is going all the way back down the road, back down the streets to Tram, and they need to get there in a hurry. Systematic all alone though. Will have to back up here whether he wants to or not. Ultimately cannot do so in time. He loses his life, and that's going to save JLINGZ even more time because his team are going to have to wait for him to spawn back up.
Exactly, it's the staggered spawns that's going to be the issue for Frostbite. Now they're going to have to win a 3v4 or wait for him to come off respawn. He's not going to be able to do so before the first kill comes through, and that just makes JLINGZ setup so much easier to hold.
Spoke about Marv's not feeding the ducks. Systematic currently only has a duck, 2 kills in the game. He needs to turn that around if his team are to stand any chance of clawing their way back into this game, and indeed the series as a whole. 44 seconds to 14. The issue is Morga has the rockets. He's fired 1. The second one's also found that home killing spree. They're all cooking it on all cylinders.
Just so comfortable too, right? You can just tell, even if this rocket doesn't get the kill, the damage it's going to do, we're going to be able to capitalize on it. JLINGZ is clicking right now. This is smooth motion.
Almost poetic. 67. They continue to climb. That staggered spawn is going to be in effect again. Quadio somehow melts away the drop shield and the shields of that player to secure the kill. He's had that weapon on lock in this game.
It's not often you see someone really focus their gameplay that much on the Sentinel beam, but I mean, why not? When you're having that level of success, when you're 17, 18, 7, and 5, keep doing what you're doing. It seems to be working.
JLINGZ only require 11 more seconds. This has been a dominating display in Game 3. Much better from them. Not letting Frostbite get back into the game. We're seeing Quadios, no, it's actually Cristola with the ball in hands now. He has lost his teammate in the running, and that's all he needed to secure Game 3. Clean sweep for JLINGZ, dominant.
Quadios not amused by the win. Shouldn't be though, this is expected from this JLINGZ roster. They talked about the potential top 6, the top 4s that they are inside of, but I mean, the way they're playing, they should have much further ambitions, and they know that those ambitions now will start with bracket play. They're gonna advance first in their pool, and it's because they played so well yesterday, able to take down Online Warriors, able to take down the rest of the pool, and that's a smile on the face of Morga because he knows what's in store. It could be a large winner's bracket run if they're playing the way they are.
Can we give the coach Morga 12 a little bit of love as well? I think he must have a conference call every time he comes to these events.
Absolutely stunning. The face of esports, they say.
An easy win for JLINGZ in the end, but Frostbite did show some signs of life, and maybe perhaps they can take down one of the teams in their pool and make it a real difficult task and make a run in that lower bracket. But for now, JLINGZ strictly business.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the last we've seen of Frostbite. I think that they showed promise in situations. They're just not ready to take down a team like JLINGZ yet. And I think that that's okay. Everybody has their own progression in Halo as far as a competitor. You don't just jump into the first place team like Snipe Down does. Only Eric Rohn is capable of things like that. But as these guys continue on their career, there's still tournament to be played. They probably will be going to the elimination bracket without seeing the pools and how they've turned out. But in that elimination bracket, I tell you what, in the first couple of rounds, I don't want to see this Frostbite team because they have a lot of individual skill, and if they get control, I think that they're going to have a lot of success.
They can be a tough task for anybody in the elimination bracket, that much is for sure. Their tournament life is not over just yet, but it's a 3-0 clean sweep for JLINGZ. Wes, what can we expect for JLINGZ, do you think, coming on ahead in the tournament? We thought that they were going to be this 5th, 6th seeded team, but now all of a sudden they're showing signs of promise that maybe they can perhaps push on top 4 once again.
I'm expecting top 6. I don't know if they're going farther though, right? I have to see them do it against a good team. I know Online Warriors is the team they beat. I think Online Warriors was playing like trash yesterday. So if they can pick it up, something was wrong with Online Warriors yesterday. That's not the same team we watched in the last couple of qualifiers. I expect Online Warriors to pick it up. JLINGZ is top 6. competing for top 4 for sure. If they get the right bracket, top 3, and if they can continue to play at a high level, Navi, Slack, I mean, the sky's the limit. They could end up in the finals if they catch a quadrant sweeping as well.
Well, I did see a shady tweet on social media, and he said, I'm not wearing a Paris Saint-Germain jersey ever again on main stage. And I think the reason for that is Paris Saint-Germain typically in the Champions League like to throw things away, like to bottle it, and Shady not looking to do that once more. But we're going to throw it over to Light and the desk to break it down. That's all from us.
Thank you so much, fellas. Well, hey, look, he loves his jersey, doesn't he, Jersey? He really does like
he's a Jersey man.
He's a Jersey man.
Sure
yeah, he's an Irish Jersey man. Well, I'll tell you what, though, we need to talk about that one because, of course, JLINGZ looking really damn good right now. And I got to say, Quad did stand out. You know, he was somebody that we kind of looked at head-to-head, and I'm not surprised why. I mean, he stood out in that first map, but the rest of JLINGZ just followed suit, right? I mean, it was a really, really smooth system that they had. They were like a well-oiled machine. Lethal, what did you make of the series overall?
Overall, I kind of felt like on the side of Frostbite, they played a little bit better than I expected. That was a close Slayer as well. At one point, there's quite a big gap, but then closed up by a small margin. But it's just a power weapon control they struggled with time and time again. And systematically, you could have felt like could have done a little bit more damage across the board, trying to get some better angles, try and reposition himself just a tad better. And then for Marvies as well, I did say that he would be the slaying powerhouse on this squad. But against a team like JLINGZ, it's very, very tough, and it's just going to force him to play out of his comfort zone and out of his style as well. But had some good assists across the board, had a good last game, but yeah, need to take a little bit more time before they can compete against anyone like JLINGZ.
Yeah, indeed. Looking at the way that JLINGZ played this series, in terms of the way that they were strategizing, especially at the beginning of Slayer Recharge, going for the camo straight away, did you feel like they were overextending just a little bit too much at certain times, Gaskin, or will that come back to bite them maybe a little bit later on?
Was that a pun on Frostbite?
It might have been.
Just double checking. I think that it definitely could do. I mean, like, honestly, it was a series that went by so fast. I stood out, went to the bathroom, came back, and it finished. But I do think that JLINGZ, they had to 3-0 them there. There couldn't have been a drop of map. If that Slayer had got a little bit too close and they had lost it, then I think other teams would have probably looked at it and said, okay, maybe JLINGZ aren't as strong as we thought they were yesterday. But no, it's a solid 3-0. They've absolutely smashed Frostbite as they were expected to. And as for Frostbite, I think that Wes hit the nail on the head. This is not the end of their run. They're going to have a fantastic elimination chance now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do.
Me too. I'm also looking forward to talking to Morga, who is joining us on the desk
once
again.
Wow.
Hey, Morga.
Hey, man.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
You looking
Good to be here again.
It's good to see you here again because it means one thing. It means you're winning, right? You're doing your victory laps and you come to the desk as you're doing them. Really impressive stuff from you and the boys. I want to ask you, the team, obviously a great day yesterday. You managed to accomplish so much. You woke up in the morning, you're having your team breakfast. What are you talking about heading into day 2?
We're talking about starting strats pretty much. Just going over all the games we're going to get today. Obviously, we knew they were going to be on main stage now, so we kind of switched it up a little bit. So because we know Quadrant is watching, we know the other teams are watching, just making sure that no one knows our real strats. But I mean, yeah, just keep the nice flows going, keep the energy going, and yeah, I'm very excited for today.
That's a bit of a risky one, I've got to say, but really impressive. When you are switching up strats because you know other teams are watching and you don't want to put all your cards on the table just yet, is that a little bit risky in terms of going up against teams that you really do want to 3-0? Are you a little bit worried, or have you planned kind of strategies around mixing things up?
We kind of plan about mixing things up. So we know for some teams what they do, and I guess we think what they do. And obviously we know that they're watching now, so we have multiple starting strats pretty much. So yeah, well maybe we double back. So maybe we do the same thing. So who knows?
How do you manage to stay as a top Halo player whilst you film films like Top Gun, the newest release?
Yep.
And how many
know.
autographs have you signed whilst being here?
Not too many yet. You want one?
I would love an autograph.
We'll get a picture later on.
Okay,
in all seriousness though, how many suits does your brother own?
He actually owns a lot, honestly. I think he brought 3 this event.
Wow. 1 suit per day.
Yeah, exactly. Got different ties as well. Definitely pay attention to that. Okay, so a different color every day. So yeah, he's suited up.
Nice.
How big do you think your series win yesterday, the 50-47 Game 5 was for you guys as a squad? I mean, we can kind of tell that the momentum and the energy has stayed high since then. How big was that for you yesterday?
It was absolutely big. I mean, we knew we could beat him. Obviously, his LAN is a different environment, and our online practice wasn't always as great. But coming here, we know we have to give it all. We have nothing to lose. People are counting us out, and all I can say is just keep our eyes on us, and we're going to keep going.
Oh yeah.
And you were talking about your realistic expectations. You talked about yesterday with the top 6, top 4, and like now top 3's been in conversation. We talk about it on the desk a little bit as well. Do you still follow that at the moment compared to what we've seen so far? start, or do you still need a little bit more time? Maybe playing against one of the other top 4 teams to get a real feel of where you could place here at this event?
I mean, I think any team is beatable. I know Ascend obviously is a big favor, but other than that, I feel like it's anyone's game. It comes down to the day, it comes down to the game type sometimes, and you know, especially with the Slayers, people don't scrimp Slayers, so the Slayers are always a dodgy one. There's 2 Slayers and they get best of 5, so if you nail the Slayers, then, you know, got a good shot.
True, absolutely.
I am 99.9% sure that you'll face Blackhand next. How are you feeling about that series?
Very looking forward to it. I've been waiting for that for a long time.
Is it a case where you are confident that's going to be, you know, an easy breeze through the next one, or do you think it's going to be a close one?
We're aiming for a 3L.
Nice.
All right.
Okay. I'm
That's what
curious.
we like to hear.
You've been waiting for it. Why?
I mean, we played them online a lot. Obviously, the upcoming guys, they're very good, talented people. I mean, I know them. They're, kind of friends, but at the same time, they're enemies, you know? So playing them online over and over can be hard, so finally match them online will be good.
It is a struggle for you online with your 3 ping, isn't it? It does get a little bit difficult.
Poor guy, you poor guy.
He loves to you just dig into technical stuff. Come
love
on.
it.
Give a guy
Love
a
it.
break.
Love it. Hey, look, keep your friends close, enemies closer. I love what you're thinking there, Morgan. Thank you so much for joining us. An incredible effort on the main stage. And we're going to be seeing you guys back up there next. So I'm going to let you go and get ready. Folks at home, we're heading to a break because when we come back, you are actually 100% right, Gaskin. We will be seeing JLINGZ versus Blackhand happening on the main stage very shortly. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you right after this.